once thought to be untouchable. Joining us with some unique insight into what goes on behind the scenes at the Pentagon is Lawrence Korb, Senior Fellow at the Center for American Progress and former Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration. Good to see you.
Nice to be with you.
Were you as shocked as most people when you heard about the Rumsfeld resignation?
Well, I was shocked at the timing. I think that given the president's statement last week when he said that, he was going to keep him till the end of the term, I didn't expect it to come so soon. We now know that the president actually was not telling the truth when he said that.
From your perspective, talking about the will of the American people, that obviously they were saying they want a change in Iraq. What do you think will be the biggest difference between Donald Rumsfeld and his replacement?
Well, I think what will happen is when the Baker-Hamilton Iraq Study Group suggests and proposes a change in the policy, Rumsfeld will not be there to fight it, because Bob Gates is a member of the commission. He has a different view about the situation in Iraq, and I think that was really the reason that they moved him out, because if he had stayed and fought that, it would have been very difficult for the president to go along with what the Baker-Hamilton Group recommends, which is obviously going to be a change in policy.
And you know what goes on behind the scenes, because there's policy, there's also logistics. For example, let's go back to 1987. President Reagan had to deal with the resignation of Cap Weinberger in the wake of the Iran-Contra scandal. How does this kind of shift, and some might argue monumental shift, take place behind the scenes?
Well, I think what happens, and I think I give the president credit for having got Bob Gates to agree to the job before he relieved Rumsfeld. I think the worst thing would have been is if he had said Rumsfeld was leaving and we're going to look for a replacement. That would have created a period of uncertainty. But I suspect that Gates will be confirmed well before the end of the year, because the Senate wants to move quickly on it. And he has been confirmed once by a Democratic Congress, so I don't think there'll really be much of a delay. And he knows his way around Washington. He's already talked to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff by phone, and he'll have the same Deputy Secretary of Defense. So I suspect that the transition will be very smooth.
How quickly do you think Americans can see any real change in our military philosophy, assuming Mr. Gates is confirmed, and I think most people think it will be smooth sailing?
Well, I think what you'll see is after the Baker-Hamilton Group reports, and they probably will recommend a phased withdrawal to bring down the number of troops so that we can put pressure on the Iraqis to make the necessary political compromises. I suspect you'll see it certainly by the middle of next year.
Korb, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we have a lot more